Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining today's webinar. My name is Erica Harris, the Marketing Manager here at Cardiolog Analytics, and we have our Director of Sales and Marketing, Yureen Negri, joining us as well. I'll go ahead and kick things off. So today's webinar is on leveraging advanced internal communication to drive employee engagement in SharePoint and Office 365. A bit of housekeeping. This webinar is being recorded. If you want to share this with a colleague in the next few days, we'll go ahead and send an email to everyone who's signed up with the recording as well. You can also connect with us on Twitter with the Twitter handle @Cardiolog. And of course, if you have any questions, we'll try to leave some time towards the end of the webinar for questions. You can send your questions through the question box within the GoToWebinar panel. In regard to today's agenda for the webinar, we'll start out with a very short introduction. We'll talk a bit about Cardiolog Analytics and who we are. Then I'll go over our engagement tool and we'll walk you through several use cases for effective campaigns to increase employee engagement. I'll then turn it over to Yureen, who will take you through a live demo of Cardiolog Engage. He will then briefly walk us through what you can do with Cardiolog Analytics SaaS in terms of measuring adoption, collaboration, portal performance, and usability, as well as migration. And at the end, we'll be taking some Q&A, so feel free to send your questions throughout the course of the presentation. Just a brief introduction about us. Cardiolog Analytics has been around for about 13 years now, since 2005. We're based out of Boston. Over the past 13 years, we've focused on web analytics designed for SharePoint and now Office 365. Our flagship solution is Cardiolog Analytics, and it's built specifically for internal platforms, including all versions of SharePoint from 07 to 2016, as well as SharePoint Online and Office 365. We can also track third-party tools like Yammer, Citrion, CRM tools, and the like. Our solution is available both on-prem and as a SaaS version based on Power BI. We've been working with our customers for over 13 years now. This slide shows our evolution. Our goal is to help our customers constantly improve SharePoint based on how it's being used. So there are three main pillars that we talk to our customers about. The first pillar is Monitor, which is tracking the usage within SharePoint. Our customers realize this is often simply not enough, though. Our customers wanted a way to take action based on the insights gained from monitoring their portal usage. The second is engaging users, asking them what their needs are, what their pain points are, and what's not working for them. This is where we will focus on our presentation today. And then finally, the most important pillar is Enhance. We want to make sure we're constantly improving SharePoint based on those two pillars. The idea is to have actionable metrics, which will allow us to constantly make SharePoint better for our users. Now let's walk through some common internal communication challenges. We'll also discuss ways we can use our engagement tools to more effectively connect with employees through your portal through audience targeting, customized communication channels, and triggers and scheduled messages. Here are some common internal communication challenges we've heard from our clients. How do you tailor your internal communication campaigns based on your users' behavior? How do you send different messages to your leaders and laggards in SharePoint adoption? We're having trouble getting different messages to different departments. How can you easily send your sales, HR, IT, and finance teams different campaigns with messages tailored to them? Customizing messages to segmented audiences is very time-consuming. How can you set triggers to automatically send campaigns to your users based on their behavior in SharePoint? Let's walk through a couple of ways Cardiolog Engage can help you send targeted campaigns to segmented audiences and trigger messages based on your users' activity in the portal. The first step is to identify who you're trying to communicate with. With Cardiolog Engage, you can easily segment your users and send campaigns to targeted audiences. You could send your campaign to literally everyone. You can send an email about a new HR policy, or you could send a desktop notification about the CEO's new blog post. You could also send a text message about a snow day. You could send a campaign to the inactives. These are people who have never performed an action ever in the portal. You could send them a campaign to try out the new search tool.
Now, that's really powerful, Erica. This is Yaron speaking. Sorry to jump in here. But we were just working with a recent customer, and one of their main challenges was driving adoption. They knew they had about 60% of their employees using their portal that they worked so hard to deploy, but they had this other 40% that just really wasn't adopting and wasn't leveraging the the portal. And before they tried Engage, they had two options. One, send out an email, for example, to everyone in the company telling them about SharePoint, but then we're simply spamming 60% of our employees because they use SharePoint today, or not do anything. And so really what this allows us to do, which is really neat, is just target a specific audience based on the fact, in this case, that they're not using SharePoint at all. So now that we've collected data about them, we know they're not active in SharePoint. They're the ones we want to target with either an email campaign, a text message, and I know we'll talk about how we can engage in a few minutes, but this is really, really powerful because it allows us to target those laggers within the organization.
Great, Yuri. That was really helpful. You could also target the engaged users, so either people who did or did not interact with a certain campaign. So for example, if you launched a new site in SharePoint, for the people who did view the site, you could send them an in-app message with a feedback survey asking them, was this page helpful? And for those people who didn't view that new page yet, you could send them a campaign asking them to check out the new site. In Cardiolog Engage, it's also really easy to send a campaign to an existing segment within Cardiolog Analytics, or as we call them, the groupies. So for example, you could send the sales team a text about new sales materials while they're out in the field.
So also, I think just some really, really neat ways to segment people, because we really want to treat our employees as individuals, and we want to make sure we're getting the right message to the right user based on which department they are. Send a different message to marketing versus sales, send a different message for active versus inactive users, and so forth. So the audiences are really, really powerful.
Great. Let's move on to the customized communication channels. So now we need to decide, how do your users prefer to receive these messages? In one platform, we have many ways to target people based on how they prefer to receive messages and what's convenient for them. For those heavily using SharePoint already, pop-ups are great. You can choose from pop-ups, full-screen messages, headers, footers, and much more.
Which is also really, really cool, Erica. It's a great way to engage with users, and it does a few things. So we'll see the pop-ups in the demo in a few moments. But it allows us to reduce the amount of emails we're sending out employees. So if we were planning to send everyone in the company another email about maybe a company event, with these pop-ups, we can now get rid of one of those mass emails and just have the invitation pop up for them as they experience SharePoint, for example. Or because these pop up on the SharePoint pages, as I'm using SharePoint, I can get a survey asking me for my satisfaction. Am I happy with the current version of SharePoint, or am I struggling to find content? And just allow me to give you that feedback as I'm actually interacting and really using the portal.
Great. So those are for the heavy SharePoint users, but if you are looking to drive portal adoption, pop-ups maybe not so helpful. But with Cardiolog Engage, you can send an email or a desktop notification instead. And you're also able to send mobile notifications, text messages, phone calls, which are great ways to engage users for urgent things and those who are out of the office. There's a couple of ways you can customize communication channels within Cardiolog Engage. And then the next step is to figure out when is the right time for you to communicate with your users so they'll actually get the message. So in Cardiolog Engage, it's easy to set up a trigger to run the campaign based on a user's behavior. For example, if a user is viewing search for more than 60 seconds, you can ask them, did you find what you're looking for? Or if they're viewing a new homepage for more than 60 seconds, you can ask for feedback. Was this page helpful? Or for example, during a series of training videos, after finishing the first video, you can trigger a pop-up directing them to watch the next set of videos. When they finish the training video series, you can trigger another pop-up and an email congratulating them on completing their training. So with Cardiolog Engage, you can easily push notifications and much more to your users based on their activity and preferences. From asking for feedback and user satisfaction, to promoting portal adoption and user engagement, and sending greetings and announcements, we'll walk through a few more common use cases and examples of campaigns you could tailor, time, and send to a segmented audience using Cardiolog Engage. You could promote a page. So for example, we found out that no one's using our new HR site, which is really disappointing since we put so much budget and effort into creating that new site. With Engage, we can promote that site or page and make sure all of our employees are benefiting from it. We would send this to the inactives who have not yet viewed our new HR site. We could also notify people that a site was moved. So we revamped our HR site and moved it to a new place in our portal. With Engage, we were able to easily notify users who visited the old HR site about the location of the new HR site and invite them to check it out. Or you could notify people about a change on a page. For example, we added new payroll guidelines to the portal and wanted to make sure that the finance and HR teams were aware of the new policies. We created a campaign about the new payroll guidelines and targeted these two departments, creating a new group that included both of them. If they didn't view our in-app message after a couple of days, we could trigger an email campaign based off this activity to make sure both teams saw the new payroll policy. You could also ask for feedback from your users. For example, you could ask people if they found what they were looking for, or you could ask them if a page was useful, or if there was anything that we should improve on that page.
So that's another really great example. What we find when we work with customers is that many times people are wasting a lot of their time in the portal searching for content. And so if we're able to understand that there is some waste there, we can then leverage Engage to actually show pop-ups when users are searching or on a failed search, and actually ask them what are they searching for, or what content are they struggling to find, which is simply what we call actionable data. Once you're aware that lots of your employees are looking for a new HR site or for the vacation day policy document, then that's golden, because that empowers you to take action. Maybe a link to the HR site from your homepage, now that you know that everyone's wasting time looking for it. So it's really a matter of collecting that feedback from our employees to go back and take action, as in this case.
Thanks, Irene. Cardiolog Engage is also really helpful to, for example, ask for topics to write about next.
Also really neat, sorry that I keep jumping in here, Erica, but we just worked with a customer whose CEO had a really wonderful blog that she spent a good amount of time writing in order to communicate with employees. And she really wanted feedback from people who are reading her blog on what topics they'd be interested in hearing more about. So they were actually able to show those pop-ups only on her blog posts, so that we're actually getting feedback from someone who's currently on the blog reading it and asking that user, what other topics would you want the CEO to write about?
Thanks, Irene. It's really helpful. So Cardiolog Engage is also great to promote adoption of new features. For example, you could get people to start using a new feature. So we developed a new app to schedule meetings in the conference rooms around the office. So instead of sending around another email about this new book a room feature, we could send a quick pop-up message through our SharePoint portal. You could also push people to use the feature more. For example, we initially saw high adoption of a new feature, but saw that people stopped using it pretty quickly. So we were able to use Cardiolog Engage to identify those that had used the feature at least once in order to send them a campaign encouraging them to return to that feature to check it out again. You could also get people to download a mobile app. So if your team spent a lot of time and budget developing an awesome new mobile app, we would be able to identify those users who did not yet download the mobile app and send them a quick text with a link to download. Cardiolog Engage is also great to send greetings and announcements. So you could send a birthday or a holiday greeting. It's a great way to send congratulations on a work anniversary as well. You could also send a text or a phone call about a snow day. You're also able to easily invite people to an event like a company retreat or a holiday party very easily through Cardiolog Engage in the SharePoint portal.
Which is also, I think, really neat, just because um, up till now, our customers really rely on emails to get all of this information out to their users. So it doesn't matter if it's very urgent or not as urgent, and so forth. But then once you have a tool like Cardiolog Engage, you can decide with urgent messages like a snow day or any other natural disaster, we can text everyone in the company right now telling them what's going on. Whereas with a birthday or a greeting, we might use a pop-up on the portal. But the idea is that this also scales very easily. So if you have 10,000 employees and it takes each one about a minute to open that email, read it, and so forth, maybe decide if they want to answer it, that's like 170 hours wasted on one email. So if instead of that, we're just showing a pop-up as people go from one page to another in SharePoint, we've all of a sudden made our company, our employees, a lot more productive.
Thanks, Irene. That was really helpful. All right. Now let's hop into a live demo of Cardiolog Engage. Irene, I'm going to pass over the screen sharing to you now.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So now that we have that background, those different use cases that Erica shared with us, let's see exactly how this works. So the first screen I'm showing is some of my current campaigns. But let's jump right in to create a new campaign. And there are two main ways to use this tool. The first is going to be some pre-canned, out-of-the-box campaigns. So in the center of my screen here, you can see that I have a few different out-of-the-box campaigns. For example, let me get a quick highlighter here. I can notify people. So if we find out that no one is viewing our brand new HR site or our new vacation day policy, the goal of this tool is to take action and to help us with that, for example, by promoting that page. Let's make sure everyone in the company knows about the wonderful new HR site, all the value it has for employees. At the end of the day, we spent so much budget and efforts building that site. Let's make sure everyone is actually using it. Or another set of pre-canned campaigns is here for getting feedback from users. So if we're about to migrate to the next version of SharePoint 2016 or SharePoint Online, whatever it might be, before we migrate, let's display some pop-ups within SharePoint asking folks for feedback on what they struggle with on the current platform, how we can improve when we migrate, and just get their current feedback. Or if we just migrated or we just redesigned our site, let's ask them if they're able to find what they're looking for easily. So these are some of the pre-canned campaigns. But you can also create campaigns from scratch. Here using the wizard at the top. Let's do that together just to show you how easy it is and how flexible the tool is to create some of those campaigns. So Erica mentioned this earlier, but let's take a closer look at audience. That's the first step here. And the question is, who do you want to engage with? It might be everyone in the company. If you want to tell them about a new product that we're launching, or if you want to tell them about a snow day or something of that sort. But you might want to segment your messages, which is where things become incredibly powerful. For example, we can target a specific audience based on department, branch, region, maybe job title, a message just to all our senior level managers. And here, for example, I'm just targeting the sales team. So again, if I'm from marketing and I created a bunch of new sales collateral, I want to make sure everyone from my sales team knows about it. Or even more powerful, maybe just folks from a sales team who have not visited SharePoint lately, inactive sales users. So here I can define just sales folks who did not visit SharePoint in the past 60 days. I want to send a very, very targeted message just to them. So there are lots of ways you can specify or target your messaging here under audience. The next step is going to be the channel. How do you want to engage with the audience you just specified? So talking about SharePoint, the first one would be in-app messages. So showing them these pop-ups right on the SharePoint page, like we're about to migrate to the new version of SharePoint. What feedback would you like to give us on how to improve? Or if we just migrated, asking them, how do you like the new layout of our intranet? What's missing for you and how easy it is to use? If we know people aren't using our new HR site, things like header and footer are really great to tell people, hey, we have this brand new HR site. Make sure to check it out. Take advantage of all the resources there. And if you have new features on a page, things like hotspot and tooltip are really, really great to make sure folks know about those new features on the page. But for our example, we talked about sales folks who don't visit SharePoint. Well, for them, we get them a very targeted email just to folks from the sales team. But more than that, folks from the sales team who did not visit that sales collateral in the past 60 days. So we know they've never seen, they don't know about that new collateral. And more than that, if these sales folks are out in the field constantly, perhaps we'll send them a quick text message with a link back to SharePoint to the page with that sales collateral. So again, we're sending a very targeted message just to sales folks who did not view this collateral yet. We're sending them a quick text message with a link to make sure that they take advantage of it. So some really, really wonderful ways to target users based on how urgent or how your users really interact. So that's channel. Next, we'll hop into designing our campaign. So here we can just ask any question we want. So again, if we just migrated, we just redesigned our intranet, we can ask users, what do you think about the site's new layout, for example? You can add everything about the look and feel here, the color scheme and background textures, and so forth. Now, here I'm just going to ask people for some feedback, have them rate our new site, tell us exactly how they feel about it, and if they're happy with it, or maybe I'll ask them for some open text-based feedback. This is really great both before and after we migrate, or regardless of a migration, even just constantly getting feedback on how to improve it is really, really wonderful. And this is feedback as I'm using SharePoint. So as opposed to sending out an email to all my employees once every 6 months with a survey about SharePoint, where if I had a problem 2 weeks ago, I'll never remember. Now I'm really giving that feedback as I'm using the portal. So it's really feedback right now. Erica mentioned that many of our customers use this tool to reduce on the amount of emails that we're sending employees. So again, instead of sending them an email about a company event, we can just say you're invited, for example. Give all the details here, and then our call to action is going to be asking people to RSVP. Can they attend the event? And even if I have one campaign, follow another. So again, very targeted. Only for those who click on maybe, they'll get another pop-up in 2 days. And for those who clicked on yes, they want to attend the event, well, that's great. We'll send them a very targeted text message the evening before the event with a reminder that the event is tomorrow, with a reminder about the location, the time of the event, and all that. So you can even send targeted campaigns based on how someone interacts with a previous campaign. And the last step here is going to be the triggers. We can start this campaign right away. We can schedule this on a specific date and time. So for example, start this campaign Monday, Tuesday, at any time you'd like based on your time, or on the user's time zone. If you want this to appear for everyone at a specific time, like lunch, we can do that easily. But what I think is most interesting here is based on an action the user performs. For example, only trigger a campaign when a user scrolls down the page, or when they view a specific page, or even more interesting, when they view results page for more than 60 seconds, that's when I want the pop-up to appear. So we know the user's been spending a long time looking at the results page. They're finding what they're looking for. This is the right time to show them asking what they're unable to find. So essentially, you're asking the right question at the right time to the right user to really get the best feedback on how to improve search in this case. So that's a quick example or a few scenarios that Erica mentioned earlier, where really the goal here is to A, collect more feedback from our users, understand where they're struggling, and B, maybe even more important, empowering our customers to take action. We now know that a site like the new HR site is not being used. Let's take action by making sure everyone knows about it through a campaign. So that's really the goal here. And then this all comes with the analytics part of Cardiolog as well. This is where we can get a lot of the great feedback on what's on within the portal. For example, if I open up one of these charts here you can see I'm showing the most popular content within our environment. But if I flip that around, I can now show the least popular content. So we'll probably get rid of all this orphan content, but we might find out here that our brand new HR site is not being viewed at all. And then therefore, we'll create a campaign, maybe a message bar, to make sure all of our employees know about that wonderful content in the HR site. So you get the full package here of analytics as well as the ability to take action with engagement. So that's a quick demo. I guess now we can take some time for questions, Erica?
Yeah, sounds great. All right, so please do send us any questions that you may have in the questions option in GoToWebinar. Lovely. Okay, we've got a question from Tim. What is the licensing for this?
Sure. So the licensing model, so this is a SaaS platform, so it's a subscription, a yearly subscription, and it's based on the number of users that are being tracked. And Tim, I'm happy to send you a quick email right after the webinar with a link to the pricing page and, of course, get you additional details once we know how many users you actually want to track and target with these tools.
Great. All right, we have another question from Rachel. Can we use this for SharePoint Online?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can definitely use this tool with SharePoint on-prem as well as SharePoint Online, sure.
Great. Okay, another question from Vanessa. We have, can we target different departments?
Yes. So one of the things that Cardiolog does is it connects to SharePoint profiles, which really allows you to import any user attributes you want. That can be region, department, branch, job title, and really any other details you have about your users, and leverage those properties, A, in the analytics, but B, in the campaigns to segment. So you can definitely create a campaign just from users from department X or just for users from branch Y, for example.
Great. I got a couple of new questions as well. One from Andrew asking, can this target to a specific page or site collection?
Okay, excellent question. I didn't really cover that, but the answer is yes. You could definitely specify that a campaign, let's say a pop-up, will only appear for users who are on page X and will appear for everyone who gets to page X, which is for folks from our marketing team who get to page X or site Y, but you definitely target that. Another great use case, perhaps you want to send out an email campaign, but again, only for users who viewed page X again. So if page X is our training page, you might say if a user gets to that page, then we want to send them an email with more details about our training program and things of that sort.
Great. I have another question from Michelle. Can I learn more about the Yammer integration?
Yeah, absolutely. So with Yammer, and I can also show this to you here. Let me change screens here quickly. So we have quite a few metrics really about the Yammer platform. So obviously the interactions or the activities we're performing within Yammer are quite different from things like SharePoint. So you can track things like threads, like shares, likes, Yammer groups, and so forth. And so here on my current screen, you can see, let me get my highlighter again. So you can see how we can filter by Yammer groups here at the very top. You can see trends over time. Here you can see which departments are most active in Yammer. So if you want to know who to give some Yammer training to, we'll here you know who are the lagging departments, for example. If I hop to another dashboard here, here's some user data. So for each user, I can see how many shares, replies, likes, and so forth the user performed. And I can also dive into threads. So what topics are people chatting about the most within Yammer, and information of that sort. So definitely quite robust Yammer analytics here as well.
Great. Thanks. Okay. A couple more questions came through from Andrew. Does this only target SharePoint? Can it also be used for other Office 365 components like Forms or Teams? And also can be used for mobile users like the SharePoint app, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. So today within Office 365, we're able to track SharePoint. We can track Yammer, Forms, and I'm forgetting one. And on our roadmap, we are in the near future releasing analytics for OneDrive, for Teams, and for Skype for Business. So, and Andrew, we can get you a link to our roadmap right after the call as well.
Great. A question from John. How easy is it to deploy?
Yeah, so what's really neat about this tool is that it's really designed for SharePoint, and therefore there's no need for any customization when you want to deploy it. It's just a matter of going through our setup wizard, and within about an hour or two, the product is up and running. It starts to collect data, and you could already start to target messages on the SharePoint pages as well.
Great. Okay. Another question from Rob. Do you have a trial?
Yes. So we do have a trial. We have a free trial as well as a proof of concept for people who want a longer evaluation or to try more environments and features versus limited trial. But definitely we can tell you more about the differences and what's included in each, Rob, as well.
Great. We're going to leave it open for another moment. If there are any other folks who would like to send in questions, those are all that came in so far. And as a reminder, we are recording this webinar and we will be sending out the recording in a day or so, so look out for that in your inbox. And we do invite you to share that recording with your colleagues who weren't able to join us today. You can tweet us at Cardiolog. You can join our readers at blog.cardiologanalytics.com, and please do not hesitate to reach out to us. You can contact us at info@cardiologanalytics.com. That looks like it for the questions today. So, Urine, if you have any last comments, I'll leave the floor open to you. Otherwise, we can wrap up for today's webinar.
No, nothing for me. Just thank everyone who took the time out of their day to join us, and thank you, Erica, for hosting the webinar.
Thank you, Urine, and thank you as well for everyone who joined us today.